will.
So a second review by two intelligence agencies now confirms information found on Hillary Clinton's private server was indeed top secret, according to them. Now, this backs earlier findings by the Inspector General of those intelligence agencies that, in fact, two emails were classified at the time that they were sent to Hillary Clinton. Remember, she said she never sent or received anything that was marked classified. Meanwhile, Hillary Clinton has taken an opportunity to talk, and in that opportunity, she basically doubled down. She says there is absolutely no need for her to apologize.
Do you want to apologize to the American people for the choice you made?
Well, it wasn't the best choice, and I certainly have said that. I will continue to say that, as I've also said many times. It was allowed, and it was fully above board. The people in the government knew that I was using a personal account.
Karl Rove is former White House Deputy Chief of Staff and a Fox News contributor. Karl, good morning. Good to see you this morning.
Morning, Martha.
So Hillary is rebooting, according to numerous stories over the weekend, and she took one opportunity on Friday afternoon to talk about this with Andrea Mitchell, and you see what she said. There's no apology at this point. That's not part of the strategy, apparently.
Yeah, I've been taken aback by two things that Secretary Clinton has said in recent days. She said in the interview with Andrea Mitchell that that what she did was allowed. Well, actually, what she said was she did not give much thought to it. And then in an interview with the AP, she said, what I did was allowed by the State Department. Well, first of all, it gives a mindset when she says, I didn't think much about this. Here she is talking about the communication with her top-level staff inside the State Department, and she admits that she didn't give much thought to it. The second thing that gets me is this constant refrain that what she did was allowed. Now, look, I worked in the White House for 7 years. If you wanted to do something like this, you would, if you were in the White House, you would have to go to the office of the general counsel and get permission from them that this was in conformity with statutes and rules and regulations. My question is, if this was allowed, who did she go to in the State Department to get permission to set up a private server in her home in Chappaqua and a non-government email address in order to communicate with her top staff? Very simple question. Who did she go to and get authorization that this was in conformity with the laws and rules and regulations of the United States and the State Department? We've never gotten an answer to that, and yet she continues to assert everything she did was allowed.
Yeah, and I didn't think much about it. It sort of flies in the face of the very deliberate action to call this staffer and say, can you please come out to our house? Can you please set up this server? Which is obviously a very deliberate action. But I want to talk about this political...
Well, Martha, that's another issue. Who did she go to inside the State Department to say, I want to take a State Department employee and put them on my personal payroll to do things that are connected with a personal system that I've set up at my home? Again, if you were sitting in the White House, if you were sitting in any executive branch department, if you were the secretary of you name it, whatever cabinet department, I think the reasonable thing would be to go get legal opinion. Could I do this? And she paid a person who was on the State Department payroll out of her own personal pocket to maintain this system. And who did she get permission to do that as well?
Good question. Let's take a look at the polls, because really there's a large question now about whether or not she is the inevitable candidate at this point. I mean, when you look at some of these numbers, you've got Bernie Sanders ahead of her 41 to 32. Joe Biden, who is increasingly looking like he may be getting in this race, is at 16 in New Hampshire. And let's keep going through these. Let's go next to Iowa, where she's at 38. Over 27 for Bernie Sanders, who's been increasing his power there as well, or his numbers. And South Carolina, she's clearly ahead, 67-10. What do you make of these stories, Karl, over the weekend that she is going to, and I love this quote, make new efforts to bring spontaneity? I didn't think spontaneity was something that you put a whole lot of effort into by virtue of the meaning of the word. But we've been down this road before. I remember last time around, Karl, well, we've decided now she's going to be more personable. She's going to be, more grandma, more accessible. They've tried this before.
Yeah. Well, they also said over the weekend they were going to reintroduce her to the people of the United States. Look, she was she was the wife of the Democratic nominee for president in 1992, First Lady of the United States. two-time U.S. Senator from New York, Democratic candidate for president in 2008, Secretary of State from 2009 to 2013. She's been a candidate for the last year. She's written two New York Times bestsellers, and we don't know her, so we're going to get reintroduced to her. So she's in dreadful shape. She's
she's one of the most recognized human beings in the country, so I think it's pretty tough to reintroduce. And, you know, Joe Biden's clearly watching all of this unfold, and you saw him over the weekend. I mean, he absolutely sounded like a candidate. Is he in? And if he is, do you agree with Rupert Murdoch, who is tweeting out, if he gets in, he's going to be very tough for Republicans to beat?
Well, he is tougher. If you take a look at the polls, for example, in Iowa, both Jeb Bush and Donald Trump beat Hillary Clinton, but Joe Biden beats Donald Trump. And in New Hampshire, Jeb beats Hillary, and Hillary beats Trump, but Biden beats Trump by a big margin. So, yeah, he'd be somewhat tougher. I do think he's in. I will say this, though. I think I wrote this in my column last week in the Wall Street Journal. I think she's likely to lose Iowa and New Hampshire. But then the calendar on March 1st, March 8th, and March 15th turns south, and it goes to states like South Carolina in late February, and it goes to a lot of southern states and blue-collar states in early March, states that she won in 2008 against Barack Obama, or states where she lost it to Barack Obama, but in order to win, Bernie Sanders or Joe Biden would have to do exceptionally well among black Democrats in the South. And I frankly think the calendar probably helps her.
We've seen that strategy before. It didn't work for Rudy Giuliani, and Jeb Bush and others seem to be banking on that strategy as well. So it's an interesting question as to whether or not it's going to work this time. Karl, thank you very much.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we'll see you soon.
Thank you, Martha.
You bet.